put web service, right? So if you see, these are all get. What do you mean by get is that how to fetch data from Workday, right? Like say this is the thing, get suppliers, right? So this is web service operation, which will get suppliers for any specified criteria, like you give the ID or reference ID and all that, you will get the supplier. Similar to that, so get is for fetching data out of Workday, and then you have import. Import is loading data into Workday, right? So there will be a similar web service, which will just be opposite of that, import supplier. Or import supplier. If import is not there, then there will be a put supplier, right? Like this one. This is deprecated. So it is saying instead of this, use submit supplier. So submit supplier is for loading supplier into Workday. Yeah. And
Okay.
it is similar to any such case. Like there is a very common web service, which is get workers. This one. This is for fetching the employee data out of Workday, right? And if you click on this, it shows what's the request and what's the response. In response, you get all such kind of data, right? Now, how to test this is we do it via Workday Studio. Okay. So let me delete this one and put. Okay, before that, this is the tab which we use for exploring these web services, which is called Schema Explorer, right? The way to remember is you have web service schema. That's why there is this Schema Explorer. Okay, now you click on this W here, drop down, and say add latest Workday web services and choose Wisdom. Now you have to give your functional area, right? Like say I am using, for example, this one, which is the get workers is part of human resources. Okay, so I will just search here human and it will come up. I click on this and I click on OK. What will happen is it will add all the human resources web service here. So if I click on this arrow, it will show another child, and then again you have to click on the but before we go there, till now, do you have any questions? Anything is not clear?
Why we use web service basically?
Web services. So there are two things. One is we did HTTP out, right? That was for calling external APIs, which is vendor specific. Suppose a vendor has given you, this is my URL, you call it, this is the user ID password, and this is whatever, and you will get the data. For all that stuff, we use HTTP out. But whenever we have to get data from Workday via web service or load data into Workday, load data meaning any data load you have to do, or you need to create something into Workday via integration, there is only one way, and that's web service. There is no other way, right? Even when you do inbound EIBs, they also at the back end uses web services, but that is not visible to us because of the interface. But yes, in Studio, it is always, and Workday Studio is used 90% of the time for inbound integration, which means for loading data into Workday, it is used. And in all such cases, Workday out SOAP is the component which is used for calling Workday web services.
Okay.
So let me
So I have a doubt here.
Yeah.
See, actually, how these web services collect the data from our tenant?
Because
actually,
they are,
because I think.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm saying in Workday Cloud, you have a separate
section for
Yes,
applications,
yes.
separate for all other applications which are interconnected. So in
Okay.
Workday Studio, because you are connecting to a particular tenant via this Cloud Explorer, right? Here, whatever, whenever your code is getting deployed, it is getting into that particular tenant and it has that connection with that layer. So it automatically fetches and do that. You don't have to do any other stuff apart from calling
That
the right.
means uh, uh, that means in the external cloud or any other external servers, the entire our data will be present over there, and it will fetch the same from there.
Right. When you're using external web service, yes, then that means you're calling some other cloud, which is outside your Workday cloud.
Okay.
Yeah? Any other question, Parag?
No.
Okay. So let's take this example. So get worker, say this is the one which I want, right? In this one, you do a right click and say open SOAP wrapped request in web service tester. So this is an inbuilt tool in Workday, web service tester, right? Either you do this or sometimes they have an option of web service builder wizard. You click on that and what it will do is get worker by specific ID or get all workers. Let's say we do get all workers and next. And here you choose what all information do you need about the employee. Additional job, benefits, business units, career, and all that stuff. Let's go with this, that we only need employment information. Click on finish. When you do finish, it will open up this tester. Right? So here it is. This is your WSDL. This is your request message. Once you click on this green thing here, right, send request, it will send the request to the tenant and get you the data. Right? For getting this data, it is using the security permissions of the account that you have logged in.
Okay.
Right now, I am connected to the tenant using this super user called T Serrano. So whenever I'll be doing this connection, it will connect via that. So if that user has access to get the worker data, it will be able to fetch the values. If not, then it will give an error. So let's see. If I just click on this green thing here, it is saying send in progress. So it has made that connection and it fetched this data, right? So if you see this first employee is this Logan McNeil, right? And it has all the ID type, what country, custom IDs and all those stuff, right? So this is how you get the web service. Right now, let me choose a very particular one and take his ID. Where is it? First name and then worker ID. Worker ID is this 210-21006. I will copy this. And now, first I did get all workers. Now let me do the other, get worker by ID. Right. So in this, we specify the ID. Like which ID is this? Worker underscore ID. So, okay, I'll just say finish. And where is that? Did I choose right? So here it is, right? Employee ID. Let me show you again. I'll cross this one. Again, this Workday Web Service Builder, get all workers. No, I want to get by worker ID. Next. Now here you have the option. What ID, right? So let me choose employee ID. And I can even populate that ID here. Let me put it here and finish. Then it will populate it right away. So employee ID is this. Now let me send the request and it got me the data. Right. So this is the user.
So we are just testing whether we are able to fetch the data or not using the web service.
Right. This is why, because we are getting the get we are using the get worker data, right? So get web services is just to fetch data. But if you use import or put or submit, that is used for loading the data.
Okay.
Okay. So, and now let's see how we call this, right? So now if you see here, this is human resources. If you see this, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the functional area, you can say. So I will copy this and I'll show you where to do this. So we will go to our studio, Workday Outsource, show property view. In this property, you have these two things which are mandatory. Yeah. So application is what? It's the functional area. So you just copy paste. Just make sure there is no extra stuff there. Now it is asking for version. What's the version there? Just copy the version.
Okay.
3.0. Command C and paste it here. And save it and connect this to this. What we are doing here is logging the message and then storing it as a file. That is, but now for web service to work, you need the request, right? This is the request which needs to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is the response that you will get. So how to pass the request? That's the question here. What do you think we need to do? That means the message which has to go to this component needs to be that request.
We can add a sync mediation and
which component?
XSLT.
XSLT is one by, but there you have to write the code. But here we have a fixed request.
Yeah.
So what can we use? You said right, async is for sure we need to do because that's the place where we need to. After this, what do we have to do in order to make sure that we pass this request? Yeah. So what do you think? How can we pass? Yes. You don't have to be right always.
Like, do we have XSLT there?
There. Yeah. XSLT is fine. That's one of the right answer. But XSLT is used if say you have to do some modification, right? If you have to pass a fixed message to this one, what component can be used?
We can use copy.
But copy, so okay, if you say copy, let's do this. I will say okay, copy. Now where would you put? Because in the property of copy, you have input as message, output as message. Where will you write that? There is
no, I mean copy cannot be used then.
So what else?
Do we have that in store?
Store is used for storing, creating the file in the output. We don't have to create the file. We have to just send that request to this. Meaning for this component, the message should be this. This should be the input to the next component. How can we do that?
Yeah, Shiva is saying write component.
Yeah. Why didn't you say that? Why you have? What is write component used for? In the write, you can have the message.
Yeah, message builder.
Content you can remove. You can put a text one. You can also put a file and all that. So once you put a text, right, you can just copy this all stuff, come here, and then paste it here. So then the output of the write step will be what? It will be the message, right? And this is the message. So this message will go as an input to this. No? Yes? No?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Ask any questions you have. Just basics should be clear. If you have any doubt, do let me know.
Okay. So in write, I thought we write usually the like text things.
So this is text. What is there? This is a text. Text can be anything. You write JSON, you write whatever. Text is a text.
Yeah. So we can write any program as well, JSON or XML.
Meaning this is a fixed stuff. If you have click here text, whatever you write there will be in the message. It will not do any coding. Meaning if you do anything here, this is an ML stuff. If I want to make this dynamic, I can do that. But as of now, we just need a standard message. So that's where the write step is used. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let me save this. But now tell me, are you clear what is happening here?
Yeah.
Right. So we have Workday OutSoap. Workday OutSoap needs a request message. And in the output, you will have the response. So for passing the request, we have used write step. We can also use XSLT. But in this particular use case, XSLT doesn't make sense because XSLT means, again, tell me what's there in the XSLT. In the XSLT, there is a code. And for that code, what will be the input? There has to be some input, right? XSLT will form over XML. So XSLT is used for modifying an XML. Right? XML into an XML, XML into text, XML into you do whatever kind of stuff you want to do. You can do it via XSLT. So here we cannot use XSLT because there is no input XML on which we have to do some transformation.
Okay.
That's why. Clear? So I'm deploying this and then let's see how it goes. Test Studio is the name. So what will be in the output? So here, whatever we have got as the response, will be the response after this, and same is going to the store step. So meaning we will have a file with this name report output.xml, and it will have the output of the web service. That's what I can say, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Okay, so it completed and it failed. There is error. That's the error. Loop detected in local input integration message. But it generated this store step, meaning it, okay. I think here it is. After put integration message, it is going there and all that stuff. That's why it is giving error. But then it generated the file, and this one will have So it will have all that kind of XML.
Okay.
Okay. So this was the output, the outbound one, where you're calling the web service, getting the data, right? Now, how about inbound? If you have to load the data, right? For that, I have a very simple method. Let's say if you have to do put, there is this put location and there will also be a get location. EFGH get location, right? So let me try this. I will do this. Get all locations next and set location data finish. It opens up like this and I run this. It will give me all the kind of locations. So here, if you see, there is a location ID called Barcelona. Let me copy that and then I will close all this. By ID, next location ID, I will put here this ID and finish. So I am passing the ID here and I'm getting all this location data, right? Now say this is where I'm fetching. Now say if I have to add a new location, how will I do it? After get, you also have a put location, right? Like this. This web service is used for loading location. So if I have to do is open soap wrap request in this tester, it will open up here. Now, since we have to load data into Workday, you see this ABCD is a dummy. Now Workday, what it is saying is Workday has made it easier for you. That since you have to create the data, what Workday will do is Workday will populate the web service with dummy data. So that you have to replace this and you add your values and run this, it will create those. But again, when you create a location in Workday, let me see if that's the task. So when you do create location, you have to give the name. Usages, you have to select asset, anything, and okay. So meaning when you have to create whatever is the red star, those are mandatory thing, right?
Yeah.
Meaning for creating a location, you need to know the name, you need to know the usage. And then once you open up, so you see all this is optional. There is no mandatory stuff here, right?
Yeah.
I can click on okay. And it can create. That means there is only two things which are required to create. One is the name and one is the usage. Rest all is optional. But here, if you see, there are so many stuff, so many things. Why? Because web service will give you option to populate everything. But based on the
everything is not mandatory.
It's not mandatory. So what you can do is you can delete the other stuff which is not needed. Right? So say if you have to create a location, first is this location ID. Did you pass the location ID in the UI while creating? No, right? Workday created it on your own. So if you click on here, integration ID, view ID, Workday generated the location ID, which is auto-generated.
Yeah.
But here you have an option. Why? Because Workday is giving you an option of overriding this. So if you pass the value here, whatever you will give, that will be this ID. But if you don't give it, then Workday will create it at location -6- something as per the sequence. Okay, and it is the same ID. Then it is the effective date. Location name was mandatory. So let's say it as location 1. Okay, and then usage ID. Usage ID is something which is required. Yeah. So I will see here that what is the usage ID for this one. Business asset, right?
Yeah.
So this thing is very important. So once you do a get, you get all the values. So you can take an estimate that, okay, what do I have to pass in this, right? So that's why whenever you get an inbound thing to load, first try the opposite of it. Try to do the get. Once you get the response, it will help you in populating the other web service. Okay, so business asset is the value of that. Come on, see, you come here and then usage ID is this. Rest all is not needed. But if you still want it, you can populate. Like I want to do it as business site. And then you have to remove. But while removing, you have to be very careful that you don't delete. So if you are deleting this tag, its corresponding ending tag should also be deleted.
Okay.
That's why when I do it, I open an XML, because here what it will do is it will give you it can tell you whether it is an invalid or valid, right? So here you have so long stuff. So location ID, let me give location, or let's give Workday that opportunity to create the ID. We will just create a location. So location data needs to be there because that's the parent tag. So it ends here, right? And then you have integration override data. You don't need this one. Then you hierarchy, you don't need integration ID. No, contact data is from there. This is the contact data. So you don't need whole contact data. But you have to be very careful that you delete the full tag. Instructional site. Yep, then you have associate. This is fine. Shift 2 is this. So these are all individual tags. So I can delete all this stuff here. Right, and location ID now effective. Keep it like this. And this is the web service request for creating a. Try this, copy this, and put it in the web service tester. Control A and control. So this is our request. What we have done is we have removed all the things which are optional, right?
Yeah.
Based on this. Now let me first show you view location. What's the one which we are creating?
Location 1.
Location 1, right? So location 1 so there, it's not there, right? So now let me send this request. So if you see what it says, effective date cannot be specified when creating a new location, right? So this is a Workday web service error. And what does it say? When you are creating a new one, you don't need effective date. Okay, fine. We by mistake we did that, right? Because when we created a new location online, there was no option of date. So
yeah,
fine, we agree and we say sorry to Workday. We correct it and then now it says created this ID.
okay.
Right now, let's go there and now search for this again. So here it is. It got created, and if I go and see the new ID, it's that P18, and yeah, that's what they said. P18. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what if I send this again? What will happen?
I didn't get that. Can you repeat?
If I send this request again, will Workday create another one?
I think it should override.
It will create another one, I think. Why? Because
Okay.
since it is creating in Workday, the key field, the unique field is this ID. Name can be duplicate.
Okay.
Okay, but since it is changing every time, created another.
Okay.
So now
But if you specify a location ID, then it will not duplicate, right?
sorry,
Let's say if you are mentioning the location ID, then it will not duplicate.
only create only one.
Okay.
Now, if you have to do it via Workday Studio, what will you do? You will copy this
Yeah.
and you go to your this part here in the right step.
Yes.
This is builder. Delete this one and place it here. Here you will have to place.
Human. Okay, so it will remain same.